Here's one for you. Who was the Matthew who wrote Matthew?
So
you're a little more fresh with all the textual criticism stuff and all that
Yeah.
because you've been studying it more recently than I have.
Yeah, so there's two answers. One, Matthew. Two, Matthew wrote the list of quotes of Jesus that somebody else put into the Gospel of Matthew that we have in our Bible. Now then, I lean very much towards the Matthew wrote it. I don't buy into the text critical answer. I have to be familiar with it because of the schooling that I've been going through and because it's one of the largest challenges that I face as a young person. You know, there are people who come to school, they start studying the Bible, they start taking classes. And I mean, I've literally been asked by people on SMU who don't have a whole lot of background with Christianity outside of what they're teaching in the academies. And it's sort of like, well, how do you know it was written by that guy? Well, the answer actually comes from church history. It comes from understanding the ancient history of our faith. Eusebius, a historian in the 4th century, compiled the first church history. It was a book that covered the time of Jesus leading up into where they were at that point in time. And basically, when you study Eusebius's work and the works of the early church fathers, part of the reason Matthew is in the New Testament is because everybody who was from that time period was like, yeah, Matthew wrote that. Now then, because of the academic work that came out of Germany in the 19th century, and I'm not going to get into the details on that unless you want to talk afterwards, but because of a lot of that work and because of secular mindsets that were trying to approach the Bible as though everything about the Bible had to be able to be proved without the Bible. Like that is a genuine academic perspective that some people have. And that's created a lot of issues. And this is part of where Q ended up coming into existence, was people were trying to figure out, how can I answer these questions without using the Bible? And there's only so far we can go with that, because so much of the Bible is necessary to explain the things of God and even things about itself.
When it comes to, I'm going to say, Matthew wrote it. The apostle, right? Whenever you look in there and it gives you the list of who the disciples of Jesus are, one of them is named Matthew. That's the guy who wrote the book. And the reason I believe that is, like he said, that's pretty much the unanimous consent of the people back then who were in the know. It's one of those things, there are certain things that we, 2,000 years later, have access to that some people didn't have access to in the past, right? We've dug things up out of the ground. We found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Those all sorts of things that we can now fill in some gaps that previous generations couldn't. But when it comes to certain things, it just blows my mind that people go, okay, here, I have examined writing styles and documents, and here I sit 2,000 years after the fact, and I know better who wrote it, rather than guys back then who actually knew the disciples.
Yeah. And so
I just can't follow that.
Yeah.
No.
And a huge part of that is that when we think about 300 years of history, which is roughly the time frame that we have from the resurrection of Christ and the ascension to when the vast majority of the New Testament was like definitively well circulated and the letters were being passed around. It took about 300 years for them to kind of be traveling as a group. Back then there were a couple of different collections, but a lot of the same core pieces were there. Nobody back then really argued about Matthew. Like even people who maybe, like Marcion, he's a guy that I'm not going to get a whole lot into, but he didn't include Matthew But it wasn't because it wasn't written by Matthew. It's because he had a warped understanding of apostolic authority. He thought that the only person that they could really trust was Luke and Paul. So even in the ancient history, when there were different groupings of the New Testament that were circulating, nobody doubted that it was Matthew who wrote Matthew. That's very much a modern criticism and modern invention of doubt.
Hear my cry for truth, my cry for truth, my cry for you.